Let's go build a waterfall. Most of the time I pick my center rock, which is the spill rock, first, and then I put the rocks on the outside. There's no right or wrong way. You know, each person has their own style of doing it. The main thing is that, like with the water, and I'm going to show you on some of these rocks, you don't want a rounded edge, you want a sharp edge, so water spills off of it. The other thing you're going to look, if you look around the property or look at some of the waterfalls, they have a big concave to them. Like the frame boulders are normally on the outside and the water's pushing through the middle. That's how you would see it in nature. When we go here, my first rock I'm going to pick is an inside rock. Right here, it's going to sit, it's going to face that way. We're going to come up the hill right here behind that. I'm going to maybe dig a little pool. I got to watch how big I go back here, once again, because of my basin size. I like to have angles and different things. When we place the top box, it's going to actually sit somewhere here and fall this way. You're going to still see it from over here, but this stone will be on an angle like this, and the bottom one will be down below. So in my head, we have a stone here dropping water. I have a boulder here, maybe a small boulder, a big boulder, right? This is where the water is going to spill, right? And then we're going to come up the hill like this, right? This is going to be like yo high, so I'm going to level off the back of that. That will be my other spill. A larger boulder over here to hold that hillside back. You're going to see that 9 times out of 10, I call it like a butt cheek waterfall where both rocks are the exact same. So many people have symmetry in their head, right? Like they want it symmetrical, they want it the same. This rock in the middle. The hardest thing is not to think about it too much. Don't use all large rocks. We're gonna probably go get some smaller rocks from in back just to mix in. Also, when you're building, it's important to have maybe some aquatic plants on hand. You know, a piece of wood from in the woods you can find. I'll probably grab a piece of driftwood from around here. But that's the basic principle of the waterfall. We're gonna set our liner in now, right? And I'm gonna set my rocks on the basin. And you're gonna watch, I'm gonna flip my liner forward. I'm gonna actually backfill this area. Right? So my liner comes off the basin like this and comes up. My liner's not laying flat off the back of the basin. You could have what's called wicking, and the water could run on the liner uphill. It happens. So you want to make sure that this has at least, you know, coming into the basin, this rock is at least 4 or 5 inches tall. Right? So it comes down and it goes in like that. And you know, it's a small basin. I wouldn't move this up too far. I'd leave a good area for the water to disappear. Let's pick out some rocks. So this rock is kind of cool. It wasn't set like this before because I know. I'm gonna actually stand this rock up like this. You see that sharp edge right there, and that this is actually going backwards. Water's gonna shoot off that like perfect. I could build it with this, I could leave and not even let the homeowner turn it on and they'll call me and tell me it'll look great. The other problem in this is building this waterfall this tall. You need to have a rock taller than this rock to make the waterfall look right. And the reason for that is you need something on the outside that makes it look taller. Not on both sides, because then you're gonna get your butt cheek, right? You want, like, see this rock here is taller, right? We can almost probably use this as the bottom and stand that up in front of this, and that will be one of my side boulders. Keep it simple, right? Keep it simple, less is more. You guys get fabric with your kit. You might want to order a little more. The one thing about fabric, you can use it for protection on top of the liner, protection underneath the liner. Back in here, we're gonna actually fill this in with soil. Most jobs I go on, a yard or two of soil's good. Once we get this set like this, we wanna make sure that this is level. This is a little low here, right? So you can kind of see there's a gap. All my water will pour heavy. If you look back here now, most water is not gonna flow this way because we're gonna use what's called foam later on. You'll see. 90% of your water is going to be going down the middle. I have my liner here, and I'm able to get my liner up. If I did have a trickle happening, I have this area back here that if water came out over here, what I'll do here is I'll clean this, right? Get the soil out of here. And before we backfill this, we'll put gravel there. Or a couple of cobbles to leave that open that water can drain. And then I'll put a piece of fabric to block. That's why the fabric could be used to block the soil from mixing in with the gravel too, right? I'm good here. My liner edge is way higher than that rock, so I know I can go. And my waterfall is going to be going that way. So if anything, this is going to suck in. You're going to see water come down and start pooling, rising, coming to the sun, and then finally fall. Okay. Right?
So you are purposely kind of creating this little pooling area?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
If this rock slanted back like this and the front was out like this, that wouldn't work. You're right, yes. Then you would want this level to level. Okay? But because of the way this rock is shaped, I'm able to, and it's going to drop. I know it is.
Right.
Just because you got to look for these. It's almost a broken rock is what it is. It's one of those rocks that's been split, and it has that nice sharp edge. So this here is kind of like straight up and vertical. I want to break this side up. So I'm going to find a rock that's flat. It's going to come like this, but I want it to take me up about this high. So now, behind this rock, I'm going to use gravel to level out my area and raise my next rock up. Once again, I'm going to want a frame rock. We're going to want something of a larger, you know, one of the bigger ones, and we'll lay off the side here. One of the most important things that I learned this from my old boss years ago is to stand back there and look at what you're doing. Because people that are looking at this waterfall aren't looking from here. I'm like, oh, it looks good, and then you stand back here and you're like, oh my God, what did I do? Right? So you need to stand back over here and take a look and make sure the rock looks right. A lot of times I'll put the rock out in front, right, like we did down below here, so the water's pouring behind it. But with the rock like this here, you know, we can kind of get it so it trickles out in front here too. So I think I'm going to leave that like that. It's not the normal way I do it, but I've been changing a lot of things up because you want to make it look different. You don't want to always be the same. The little box that we have is going to wind up going back here and spilling over. I need something to frame in this side. We have a lot of gravel right here, right? We're going to foam that. I'm going to show you how to do like a little bib liner. You take a little scrap piece of liner, you put a little foam, slap the liner down, foam on top of it, right? And then the water will just pool there and go. It won't go down through that gravel, okay? We'll take care of that when we do the foaming techniques. One other part that we have to do right now before we start tucking all our edges and foaming, I gotta get a stump there, is we like to add lights. We have some lights. It's easy to put the lights in now, right? Because everything's open. So we have a couple of lights, Ralph, you can grab. Right, I think there's one over there, right? So now you run it through the cracks in between the rock before you put your gravel in. If you put your gravel and then go to put lights, that's what takes time. It's the steps, the process and procedures you do to get this done and keeping it in a flowing motion. Because if not, then you got to move away the gravel, you got to, you know, do all this to get the wire in. Now you can just stick it in and we can gravel around it. So what he's doing is positioning them on the waterfall. So watch when you do a light, right? A lot of times people put the light, they put it right here, and that looks great on the waterfall. If you bring it back a little bit, you can see it on the rocks on the outside. And then my favorite thing would be is to put a light here and put a light here. So this is lit up softly, that's lit up brightly. You get that on video?
Yeah.
Okay. See how I'm following my top edge? Right, see, watch. Don't get frustrated and do this. That's what always happens. You can have a Sharpie marker if you want, and just trace your line. That's enough. Like I have enough extra liner here, right? I know a lot of people, another thing you could do at this point too, is foam everything, like foam this here, and leave your edges, and wait and run it as a homeowner. That way you can see if there's any water going anywhere. You can either cut this liner here. If you want to keep that liner there, you take it, you roll it underneath, and then here, this here needs to get tucked up, right? You see how I have my top edge still, right? It's still all here. My fold is folding like a shingle with the way the water flows. So if water comes here, it's gonna flow. I don't have it folded like this, all right? You fold your folds like this. This comes up here like this, and this liner is where your water is. This liner needs to go into this basin, right? See how much different that is? If I left that liner before, water will pour out, right? If I have my liner like this, up here, and it gets a little, you know, it kind of wants to fight you sometimes. And then what I'll do is I'm gonna roll up that right here, right. So now I did foam over here before. I haven't foamed back here. I need to continue my foaming. You can connect to the other so water doesn't go. If I just turn this on right now, water's gonna pour down here, water's gonna pour down over there. It's not gonna go over that center rock. So, taking my trusty foam gun again. We're gonna add, I'm gonna actually pull this away, making sure I get in all the folds. So we can keep pouring soil here, but if we keep pouring soil, it's just gonna keep falling. So now with that boulder there, that'll hold my soil. We have a little spot here I'll fill with gravel. Ralphie went to go get me a rock to place here. I haven't really packed tight because if I do, it's just gonna fall over. We gotta get a rock in there. Hardest things is transitioning from the waterfall into your landscape, right? So you can do this a couple of ways. If you want to put soil in the waterfall itself, don't be afraid to. You don't want this going out to the soil though. You can take like a piece of fabric, stick it down inside here, like that. Not coming over the liner and touching the soil though, because if this gets wet, it'll start wicking. Inside the liner, set a hosta inside like that, right? Because that's durable, and it doesn't have to be on it can be on a slight angle. Plants don't always have to be planted straight. You know, I planted like stuff off the hill straight out, like weeping. We'll fill this in with a little bit of soil down below. We can put a little gravel on top. And then back over here, I'm gonna dig a hole, and you put another one out here, right? Where those two hostas grow together, right? You take care of the whole entire edge of the waterfall. Because anytime you get something from growing inside and out, and it looks okay now, but 2 years from now, it's gonna look tremendous. People don't realize that you can plant hostas and some other plants in the water. So that works very well. It saves so much labor and energy trying to hide this. And this stuff's like, this stuff here spreads and grows like a weed. So you can just literally use that to push that down. We got to figure out how we hide this corner. So what I would do is pull this liner back like that and then just drop some small gravel down in there. And that's it. She's a wrap.